Toedscruel is a really weird Pokemon. It's kind of bulky, but it has such mediocre charge moves. I mean, watch it throw a double effective Seed Bomb into a water ground type Gastrodon. It just tanks it. It's insane. Despite this, I brought it to the 2026 Auckland Special Championship, the second tournament of the Oceanic season. This was my first time competing in Oceania in almost 2 years, because since 2024, I've been commentating instead, but with no stream this time around, it was time to gear up and play. My original plan was to take a team from Ash and Ash, who was playing in the Merida Regional Championships in the very same weekend. And clearly, it was a great team, because he took it all the way to 3rd place of this tournament. Unfortunately, because I didn't have any time to prepare for this tournament, I felt that my matchup knowledge was just too poor to actually make it work, and so I needed to find an easier strategy. And that strategy was the same one that I ran at last year's Pokemon Go World Championships. It was time to play rock, paper, scissors. Without time to build an RPS team from scratch, I looked to the Toronto Regional Championships that took place the weekend before, and one player really caught my eye. That of Will D822. Will is a frequent GBL leaderboarder, and after 2.5 years away from the official circuit, he returned for the 2026 season with an instant splash. He brought this crazy team with Wigglytuff, Bastiodon, and Toedscruel of all Pokemon, and he went on a crazy streak. After losing in round 2 to a rogue Melmetal, he went on an 8-round winning streak against the likes of 5-time champion Lyle Jeffs III, 5-time champion LNDS Harjeff, and as of last weekend in Merida, 5-time champion Rise to Occasion. And he almost even took down 2-time champion Ilum as well, taking himself all the way to top 12 of this tournament. An absolutely incredible feat. And you know what? I am just straight ripping this team. Let me break down how it works. In the lead up to Auckland, Inadequence's Discord server hosted a series of practice tournaments with these usage stats, and I feel like this is a really helpful place to start. Just like when I brought it to the World Championships, Bastiodon looks really good here. Basti can take wins against all of these Pokemon pretty easily, and in the One Shield scenario can also take out these ones, meaning that there are only 3 Pokemon in the top 12 usage that we really need to worry about: Empoleon, Marowak, and Stunfisk. And wouldn't you know it, but this is the one and only niche that Toedscruel can actually cover. Its grass and ground typing mean that it can actually completely wall off both Marowak and Stunfisk, and with the power of Mud Slap, you can actually get wins into Empoleon, even if it takes a lot of damage from that super effective Drill Peck. Toedscruel is basically Bastiodon's perfect bodyguard, and with Bastiodon being such a dangerous Pokemon that everyone is scared of getting RPS'd by, its counters are almost guaranteed to come out. At the same time, Toedscruel's biggest counters are probably Ice types and Flyers, which are both taken out by Bastiodon. This is a pretty great combo. You also have Wrap that lowers the opponent's defense, which can potentially set you up to take them down with Mud Slaps, or just help you out in a sticky situation if you didn't win lead. I'll be honest though, until the tournament started, I actually wasn't a big Toedscruel believer. I mean, I tried to make it work in my World Championships team, and I just couldn't do it because it just didn't seem good enough. And after watching it not even one-hit KO a Gastrodon, it was just like, man, this thing, you should probably just run Marowak or Gastrodon as your Mud Slapper. But I'll tell you what, once this tournament started, I really did realize the power of Toedscruel, and I used it in almost all of my battles. But here's the thing. Even though Bastiodon and Toedscruel make such an amazing pair, sometimes it just feels way too risky to bring. There are just too many counters running around and you feel like you need to go in a different direction. So in that case, you need something else to cover the Flyers. Or maybe a few things. Fortress is one of Will D's favourite Great League Pokemon, and that's for good reason. With Rock Tomb, you can reduce your opponent's attack stat even in a bad matchup, and its Bug Steel typing means that it only has one weakness in Fire. While Talonflame was very high in usage like weeks ago, it's pretty dramatically dropped off since then, and it wasn't even on that top 12 usage. So Fortress is sort of becoming more and more safe and viable as time goes on, especially because it is so bulky, it can really soak up damage from pretty much anywhere, especially as a save swap. It can also bait out Marowaks, for example, which lets Toedscruel come in and farm them down. Using Volt Switch over Bug Bite also gives you a better matchup into Corviknight. So it's sort of just one of our 2 safe swaps on this team. The other one being the one and only Azumarill, also giving us some extra fire coverage, and running Ice Beam and Hydro Pump. I don't need to tell you how good Azumarill is neutrally with its solid bulk, but Hydro Pump gives you extra coverage into even more matchups like Corviknight and Scizor, and it kind of just makes it a little bit more of a safe swap rather than the traditional Ice Beam play rough moveset. Ice Beam is obviously great to take down Altaria as well, and to be honest, there aren't a lot of Pokemon running around that really require play rough except for Guzzlord, so to be honest with you, this actually works out pretty fine. We also have Wigglytuff on this team, coming alongside Bastiodon straight out of my World Championships team, and giving the squad some fighting coverage for that potential Annihilate pick, as well as the rapidly increasing Guzzlord. It also puts some pressure onto my opponents to bring their Steel types, which again gives Toedscruel more chance to hit a target, and at least you have Icy Wind to reduce your opponent's attack if you're stuck. If you can't tell, Will D is a big fan of debuffing moves. And speaking of debuffing moves, we have Brick Break Furret instead of the usual Trailblaze, and there's a good reason for this. With Brick Break, Furret is actually an amazing safe swap, because if there's no fighters on the other team, Furret can pretty much take on anything, including the other most famous safe swaps of the current meta, like Licky Licky or other Furrets, or to be honest with you, Fortress as well. Furret is a very versatile pick, and with Brick Break, you can also boost up that sucker punch damage in effect. I mean, like, I know you're not boosting your damage, but you're lowering the opponent's defense, which is kind of boosting your damage, so it sort of works out. I know I said we were running RPS, but the truth is that with Furret, Azumarill, and Fortress, we actually have quite a bit of wiggle room to make this not so RPS, even if Bastiodon and Wigglytuff are both on the team. I'm certain there is nuance I'm missing here, because that's what you get when you take a team off the shelf at the last minute without any preparation, but for now, it is time for the Auckland Special Championships. This tournament wasn't like your standard regional, because it was also hosted in a card shop. This meant that there was a cap of 32 players, which meant that if you want championship points, you were going to need to get to at least top 8 in this tournament, which there's some kind of weird things about it, like the fact that if you get top 8 in this tournament, you get the same amount of points as if you get top 8 in like a 300 person regional, and there's like, I'll talk more about it at the end, there's some weird things with that, but it does get even crazier. If you stay in the winners bracket, your first win takes you from top 32 to top 24. Your second win takes you to top 12, and your third win puts you straight to top 6, but it gets even easier. Well, it does for me. Because this tournament was seeded, meaning that players with more championship points over the last couple of seasons are more likely to get sort of pushed further into the tournament or face lower seeded players. With that in mind, you know who has 2 thumbs and generated over 800 championship points last season out of South Africa? This guy, meaning that I entered this tournament as the number 4 seed and got to buy straight into winners round 2. What this means is that I need to win twice to get all the way to top 6 of this tournament. Obviously that is completely ridiculous, it makes no sense, it's one of the many reasons we should have Swiss, but hey, who is going to exploit silly tournament shenanigans other than this guy? So let's get this rolling. Funnily enough, my first opponent was either going to be my G'day Battlers co-host debbiepebble or Alan New Zealand, who I actually played last year in some Auckland Cups and Challenges when I was trying to qualify for Worlds, although back then he was known as iCup 007. In the end, it was a tight, close battle, but debbiepebble was able to get the win, meaning my first opponent was going to be debbiepebble herself. It was time to lock in. Debbie is running Shadow Marowak, Licky Licky, Furret, Shadow Scizor, Azumarill, and Altaria. Except, no she isn't, because she accidentally registered Empoleon instead of Furret. Now, I actually think this is a positive change. It's definitely better into my team, and it's pretty good Pokemon in general, so this might have actually worked out for the best for her, but it was a little bit of an oopsie. Now, if you look at my team versus hers, Bastiodon looks incredible. It beats 4 out of 6 Pokemon, only losing to Marowak and Empoleon. If you look at Wigglytuff, it looks incredible, only losing to the Empoleon and the Scizor. If you're Debbie and you don't bring your Marowak or Empoleon or Scizor, and I bring Bastiodon and or Wigglytuff, you might literally lose on the lock-in screen and there is nothing you can do. Because of this, I feel like I have a really strong team comp advantage. And when we were discussing our matchup beforehand, because we figured there was a decent chance we could end up playing, I just assumed that we were going to be playing RPS, hide the Bastiodon from the Marowak, and try and win the game like that. But as I was standing there while they were playing round 1, I was just staring at my phone, staring at our 2 teams. And like, how can I find a safer game plan? How can I find a way to not just lose on the lock-in screen? And I realized, what if I just don't bring Bastiodon and Wigglytuff? If Debbie thinks like they are such strong Pokemon, like surely I should be bringing them, and I just don't, then maybe I have a decent chance. Toedscruel is obviously Bastiodon's biggest sort of bodyguard, and if they need to bring a Bastiodon counter, then I'm guaranteed to have at least 1 good matchup, and potentially 2, because you really need to have a Wigglytuff counter as well, unless you want to take the dice roll, take the gamble. And so I was like, well, maybe this actually just works out. Now, obviously I want to play it safe, and so Altaria would be a terrible matchup for Toedscruel. But my team has like 4 amazing Altaria counters and kind of a 5th one, because Furret is actually really good into Altaria as well, and in most scenarios ends up leaving it on like a single digit HP. And so with some Brick Break shenanigans, maybe you can actually win that one as well. So like Altaria is almost impossible to bring into my team unless you were just trying to line it up onto Toedscruel. That is its only big winning play. So, and obviously that feels bad as well as the Altaria player. But I want to play it safe, so I do bring 2 Altaria counters in the back, ABB with a Fortress and a Azumarill. Fortress going to be my safe swap and bait out the Marowak if need be, and then Toedscruel can try and mudslap down. Maybe I can wrap through in the back and we'll try something out. But that is game number 1. Let's get into it. Game number 1, we've got the Toedscruel into the Empoleon. This is obviously a pretty good matchup for us. Drill Peck does do a lot of damage and Empoleon outpaces us to the moves, but Mud Slap is doing so much damage that we can burn one shield here, tank the next move, and then actually just Mud Slap all the way down. We throw the Seed Bomb here just because we're going to either force the shield or just keep Toedscruel really healthy, which there isn't like, again, Altaria is the only solid super counter, and I just don't think that it's worth bringing into my team, so I just don't really expect Altaria to ever be around. In comes the Licky though, now that we've won switch advantage, and I decided to go for the wrap here, just lowering the defense to get as much damage on here as possible. I don't want to swap because I don't really want to lose switch advantage in case whatever's in the back sort of destroys me. So I just let I let Toedscruel go here and bring in Fortress. Fortress, again, its main goal is just to soak up damage, and I figured it could soak it up a little bit better than Azumarill because we do resist that body slam, and so we called the body slam on that one. Shadow Ball would be doing a little bit more damage to us, and we even get the Rock Tomb in here, get the KO, and it's actually that Marowak in the back. So Azumarill, this is just pretty straightforward RPS. You know, we got the Toedscruel into Empoleon, Fortress into Licky, Azumarill into Marowak. It's hard for it to go any simpler than that, but even like if it was anything else in the back, Azumarill was pretty well set. Like if it was an Altaria or if it was a Sizzle, it would have been fine, to be honest with you. Azumarill, it would have been like a little bit hit or miss in that I was just assuming that Fortress would have enough health to push through, that it would be able to do enough damage to Debbie's Azumarill that my Azu would be fine. But jumping straight into game number 2, because we are literally just running back the exact same line, and we get another great lead with Empoleon, and so Debbie plays it a bit different this time though, and swaps into that Azumarill. We do outpace to Seed Bombs, but Azumarill actually still wins this matchup because Ice Beam is just so bad for us, I guess, and you know, we don't have that high of an attack stat, so we decided to just chip and dip, Seed Bomb onto the Azumarill and swap into Fortress, who again, Fortress's main role is just to soak up damage, and so we're just swapping in here, we throw a Rock Tomb with no bubbles, because we want Debbie to do as much damage to us as possible so that Marowak gets less farm in the back, basically. And so we're drawing it all the way down, and she actually swaps into the Marowak. She wants to give this guy less farm, but because of the threat of the Earthquake, Debbie does shield up here. But because we've got that Rock Tomb debuff in, even though this Marowak has energy, Toedscruel is going to be really good here because, again, Bone Club already doesn't do a lot of damage to Toedscruel, but now that the Rock Tomb debuff is in there as well, it is a really good spot for us. Toedscruel, like, isn't an amazing Pokemon, but when you're up against a ground type, that is the one place that it absolutely shines, and it's just taking no damage at all. Now, Debbie actually tried to swap into into her Azumarill there, and catch a move, which would have a really nice catch, but there was a little bit of lag. But at the end of the day, we were in such a dominant position here that it wouldn't have mattered, just with 2 shields still in tow anyway. But we get the Seed Bomb into that Empoleon and then Fortress. I think we're going to go for the Rock Tomb to try and clean this one up, but yeah, unfortunate that, you know, lag happens, but yeah, luckily it didn't actually impact the result of that battle. Debbie ended up finishing 9th in this tournament, which is still really awesome, but after we've now have one single win on the board, we're in the top 12, which is just ridiculous. Again, we are now 1 win away from top 6 of this tournament, which is absolutely insane, but it's not going to be easy because we have to face YuseiFurou, one of, if not the best battler from New Zealand that is in this tournament, and definitely a very scary competitor. He's running that Gastrodon, Galarian Moltres, Florges, Fortress, same moveset as mine, I believe, and the Florges has Chilling Water and Trailblaze, Jellicent, and that Shadow Annihilate as well. Now, Debbie's team I was quite happy with because I felt like I had a really strong advantage into it. Yusei's team I did not like at all. Now, Wigglytuff looks really strong here. It does beat the Annihilate, the Jellicent. Florges is okay. Gastrodon is okay, bad-ish. Moltres is really good as well, and then Fortress is pretty bad. So I'm like, look, Wigglytuff is going to come to this game, and because of that, I feel like Yusei is going to bring that Fortress. If he's bringing Fortress, I want to bring that Toedscruel. Toedscruel doesn't look awesome into a lot of the team, to be fair, but Fortress would be a really nice matchup, and so I figure, look, maybe we can get it if he needs to bring that Steel type for my Wigglytuff. With that in mind, I decide that I'm going to run that Toedscruel lead again, and I'm just, again, because I'm scared of getting completely RPS'd, I'm going to go ABB. I'm going to have Wigglytuff and Azumarill in the back, because that Galarian Moltres actually looks pretty scary as well, and I figure that between Azumarill and Wigglytuff, I probably can play into anything. Jellicent would be pretty awful for my Azumarill, but hey, maybe we can just take the risk that we're not going to see a Jellicent with a Sucker Puncher, a Volt Switch, a Wigglytuff. Like, I feel like Jellicent probably isn't coming into these games, but hey, you never know. So let's jump into game number 1. Maybe I should have thought about the fact that Yusei saw me battle Debbie, because he definitely called the Toedscruel lead, and with the Galarian Moltres in the lead, we're going to swap straight out into that Azumarill. Now, this is sort of where the Hydro Pump comes in handy, because we can actually get some decent damage into this Fortress, even though it is now going to Rock Tomb us, unfortunately, before we get the chance, but that's just good timing from Yusei. The Hydro Pump is going to go through, bring that Fortress down, and maybe this is sort of like the reverse of that earlier scenario where I actually wanted Debbie to weaken down my Fortress, where maybe he wants me to weaken down that his own Another Rock Tomb coming in, this Ice Beam goes through, right? And it doesn't KO. I almost wonder if one less Rock Tomb, maybe it would be enough to KO, if that's actually saved in there. But now I barely get any farm on my Toedscruel, and I'm going to hard swap into Wigglytuff because I can't leave Toedscruel in with the Galarian Moltres. It's a Florges in the back. I do have 2 shields, so I'm like, look, maybe we can fight our way through to that Galarian Moltres. It's our one chance here. I'm not throwing any energy yet because I know that I just need to get as many charms in as possible. And I'm like, oh, is there a universe that I can... And I was like, no, there's no way that I can charm them down before they get to another move. So I may as well throw the Icy Wind here. I just try and maybe catch a move into Toedscruel, or I'm like, look, I have to make something happen because otherwise Florges is just going to take me out. So I decided to come in back here and throw some wraps, weaken down the defenses of this Galarian Moltres. Yusei has really good timing though, and so before I get this second wrap off, the fly comes through, I let it go. I have to let it go, I have no more shields, and now it's got a lot of energy to throw into this Wigglytuff, and at this point, they could just fairy wind me down. Actually, they can sucker punch me down, which is insane. And so not really the greatest start for me. Game number 2, I make some weird decisions that I definitely regret now. I think it just speaks to the fact that I wasn't locked in, because I go, look, Galarian Moltres was really strong that game. I need to do better into that. And I'm like, brother, you already brought 2 fairies last game. He probably isn't even going to bring it this time. And so I decide, you know what? I'm going to bring Bastiodon, because not only is it going to be good into that Moltres, it'll also be good into that Fortress that was kind of annoying last game as well. So I'm like, look, this should be fine. I like this bring. So I've got Wigglytuff and Bastiodon in the back, and I'm still leading with that Toedscruel, hoping that we're not going to see a Moltres in the lead this time around, and that is basically my logic. Now, Yusei did tell me after the fact that he was so scared of Bastiodon and Wigglytuff that he was not going to bring Galarian Moltres again, but we digress. Toedscruel lead into Shadow Annihilate, and to be honest with you, I think this is pretty good for 2 reasons. 1, it's not Galarian Moltres, so that's pretty awesome. And 2, I can win this lead scenario if I invest 2 shields, and that seems okay to me because then I have Bastiodon Wigglytuff in the back, it's super RPS-y, maybe we'll be fine. And so we're just going to go straight for it. We do get Charge Attack priority here, and I'm like, that is annoying, so I guess I'm going to shield. And then I'm also throwing the Seed Bomb straight away. So this is just sort of bad matchup knowledge or bad thought processes. But we do end up winning that lead scenario with 1 shield down. So Yusei still has a shield in tow, and he brings in the Florges. Now, I have a decision to make here. I can either bring in my Bastiodon or Wigglytuff. If I think that it's going to be a Fortress in the back, then I want to get rid of my Wigglytuff and use it now. Instead, I predict that it's going to be either Galarian Moltres, Jellicent, or Gastrodon, and I'm like, if it's any of those, then Wigglytuff in the back is probably going to be a little bit better for me. I'm going to throw out my Bastiodon now and just hope that Wiggly in the back is good. It is only going to be bad if it is indeed that Fortress in the back. If it's Fortress in the back, it might be Jova, because Wigglytuff is not going to be able to do anything to that guy, and I think I was especially scared of Galarian Moltres if it had a shield, because if Galarian Moltres had a shield advantage, which it does, then it would be better into Wigglytuff than Bastiodon, but it is indeed the Fortress in the back, and so unfortunately we made the wrong call. And to be honest with you, this is the more logical call. Like, it was more logical that it was going to be Fortress, so I think that I made a bad decision here. I should have brought Wigglytuff into Wigglytuff into Florges. They sound so similar, and then I think I would have had a much better time. I think that would have been the smarter play, but in the moment I was really trying to think of it. I didn't have a lot of time, and I think I made the wrong call. But with that said, Yusei does take us out 0-2, pushing him straight into top 6 after he also got a bye round 1, so he also only played 2 opponents, one of them being me, and now I'm going down to losers bracket, and I am still 1 win away from getting into top 8 now instead of top 6. In the losers round now, and I'm up against KiwiCuber, who is running the Shadow Marowak, Corviknight, Shadow Empoleon, Furret, Shadow Gyarados, and Altaria. 3 shadows, 3 non-shadows, and I only just realized that I haven't been running any shadows, which I guess is kind of fair enough, because there's a lot of bulk on this team. It's like, as KiwiCuber actually said himself, it's the bulky RPS is what I've decided to run here. And as I'm looking at his team, I think 2 things. First of all, Fortress looks amazing. It beats Corviknight, Empoleon, Furret, Gyarados, Altaria. It's literally just the Marowak I'm scared of. If it's Marowak I'm scared of, I'm bringing Toedscruel every single game. And because I want to keep it a little bit safe, I'm going to bring the Azumarill as well, because I think Azumarill looks really safe into KiwiCuber's team. Like, there's nothing that's hard countering it at all. So it seems awesome, and because we have Hydro Pump, it is better into that Corviknight as well. So it just looks amazing, especially if Marowak is going to come every game. So I'm going to actually lead the Fortress, because I figure, look, worst case, I get Fortress into Marowak. I'm going to swap into my Azumarill save swap, and then I'm going to keep my Toedscruel to try and RPS it later on. And so with that said, let's just jump straight into game number 1. Losers round 4, game number 1, and we get a Fortress into a Furret, which isn't really the lead we want. Like, it's probably the worst one of the 5 good matchups that we have, but because we sort of are thinking that there's going to be something else Fortress is good into later, and so I make a bit of a weird decision here. I throw the move, I chip this Furret all the way down, and then swap into Toedscruel. This is like almost asking for trouble because there are so many bad matchups on this team, but KiwiCuber brings out Corviknight, which is one of the like least bad matchups. So maybe I just got lucky here. Maybe it was prediction game 100, I don't know. But we end up with a flyer into our ground and grass type, but because of the power of Wrap, reducing their defense, and this is our second wrap now, and Mudslap just slowly adding up, we've brought Corviknight down to like almost a third of its health, which is insane. Like that just seems ridiculous. Toedscruel might actually be the GOAT, because that's just ridiculous. Now we can bring that Fortress back in and get a full farm down, but instead they're going to swap out into their Furret. We're a Fortress. We know we can tank any move this guy's going to throw. There's no Brick Break on the field either. And I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be able to even tank another move. So I'm like, I'm going to let it go. We're going to keep this Rock Tomb for later and hard swap into Azumarill. We know that because my team is so prone to it, he has to bring Marowak. So I figured there's going to be a Marowak in the back. That's exactly what we were saving that Azumarill for. And at this point, it's just, it looks like it should be pretty hard cut, right? Like, you know, we've got an Azumarill into a Marowak. Let me just tell you, this game gets a little bit crazier. So we throw that Ice Beam, we get that first shield out of KiwiCuber, and our Azumarill needs to do a lot of work here because there is still a lot of Pokemon waiting to go. There's still this Marowak. This Ice Beam would be enough to KO. They decided they want to keep this Marowak around though. We swap into Fortress. I wanted to get the Rock Tomb off, but luckily, I guess lucky for them, they tap on the move, KO our Fortress, and now Azumarill has so much work to do. We can tank a move from this Corviknight. We know we can. And so we just need to get enough energy that we could throw... okay, now I just throw my energy here. And so now all of a sudden this Marowak is going to come in the back. It has a move. I think at the time I was like, oh man, I threw that so hard. Because it was like, oh, wait, I didn't need to throw the energy yet. And yeah, I think I definitely made a few mistakes in that one, but we are now down a game and we are still not in top 8 yet, so we need to get this back. So we're going to jump into game number 2 when, to be honest with you, we're both thinking like, look, these are the safest Pokemon, right? Like everything outside of here gets way more scary. Gyarados is such a difficult bring into my team. Altaria, such a difficult team. As I said, I have 5 Pokemon that are good to Altaria. How are you going to bring Altaria? You have to bring Corviknight instead. It's just how it's going to be. And so game number 2, we get the Fortress into the Corviknight lead so much better. We see the Furret swap in. Now I've actually swapped out my back line. No Toedscruel this time, because to be honest with you, I didn't really love how it went. And instead, I'm bringing in the Furret. I've brought double safe swap with Furret and Azumarill. Now that we've weakened down their own Furret and put a little bit of an attack debuff on it that's now been counteracted with the Trailblaze, I know I've Brick Break. Like, I know how good of a matchup this is, but they're so low that I'm just going to throw a Swift, get the KO, and here comes Corviknight. And just like Toedscruel was doing, I'm literally just going to throw moves to reduce their defense. That's all we're going to do here. Sucker Punches are going to add up a little bit more than the Mud Slaps, I feel. I went for the Swifter there, I think, but they do get their move off first. The Payback going to take us out, but that's fine, man, because I have my Fortress ready to go. We're going to Volt Switch all the way down. I figured that it's probably that Marowak that's going to be hiding in the back that's going to want to take me down, but so I'm just going to eat this Payback, and Azumarill is going to be my MVP here. I need Azumarill to do well. I throw the Rock Tomb because I need to reduce how much damage this guy's going to do. We do get a shield out of that as well, which is really nice when that happens. It's so good, but it makes sense, right? Like Debbie did the same thing. In comes the Bone Club though, and we do shield up. I sort of decide that this is probably the most damage that I'm going to get. I don't know the calculation, so I'm guessing. I'm vibing here that like, look, this damage is probably more scary, but you know, you can see Bone Club doesn't do that much. Now again, they catch the move again, which maybe I should have, after the first time, I shouldn't have just thrown Ice Beam on alignment, because that is such a good catch. And now we have a Azumarill. I try to make a catch of my own, but instead I just give them an extra Mud Slap, and now I think I just sit here and I'm like, oh, GG's, man. Like, the round is absolutely over. But trainers, this round is not over. They throw the Bone Club, bring us down to such low health. One bubble, one Mud Slap. It's a tie. It is a tied game, and we are now going into a game 3 to sort out a second game. Like, this is just so awesome. I really thought this game was over. He thought this game was over, but nothing is over. Never stop tapping until the game is done. And now we have game number 3, but we're only down 1 game, and we have Fortress into that Furret. And this time we brought the Toedscruel back in, because again, I'm like, I know that Marowak is going to be there, so maybe we'll actually just use Azumarill as the safe swap this time, unlike what I did last time. And so instead, we're just going to keep on charging up. I'm going to go for the Earthquake here. I don't really know if this is the right play, to be honest with you. Like, it does a lot of damage, but that Rock Tomb did so much damage before that it almost feels like this is a little bit silly. But I'm like, look, Fortress is obviously like the GOAT into KiwiCuber's team, so I'm going to keep it alive with that shield, throw a Rock Tomb into this Marowak, and now it is Toedscruel time. Toedscruel is just so set up here. I'm going to let them take me down. I probably should have waited one more Volt Switch to throw the Rock Tomb, so they would have taken me down a little bit quicker, but it doesn't really matter when Toedscruel's involved, because it can soak all that energy easy. They swap into Corviknight. I know that it's going to be in the back. I swap in my Azumarill, and at this point, I'm feeling pretty good again, but I am down a shield, so I can't get too confident at this point. I know that the back matchup is insane. To be honest with you, like, this matchup is fine. Like, Azumarill and Toedscruel are both so good into Marowak that KiwiCuber just needs to do a lot of work with this Corviknight. Their sort of main prerogative is actually just getting their Corviknight onto my Toedscruel so they can try and take it down. But we also saw how that went last time. So I'm sort of thinking the same. I'm able to get into the Toedscruel before he throws the move, meaning that, you know, we don't have to worry about, you know, do I burn a shield here or not? It's just a confident comeback in. I'm going to mud slap all the way down. I don't need to shield a single thing. Throw the wraps into that Corviknight to reduce its defense. I think I almost think about like just going straight mud slaps, but I'm like, no. It has too much health. We have to throw the wraps in, even just to make sure like Ice Beam gets a KO, worst case as well. Straight back to back wrap, back to back defense drop. That health is getting lower and lower. We combo play it into the Azumarill because even if it's charge attack priority, we have a shield, they have a shield, and now I'm like, okay, this thing goes down. Nah, surely we can do it with we can do it with Toedscruel, right? We can get a little bit of Toedscruel action because I'm like, look, sand attack doesn't do much damage, so maybe I can get to more charge attacks, and I throw the seed bomb into the Corviknight with double defense reduced, low HP, and we tie the series up 1-1, which means we are going into a game number 4. He was sitting there recording in one single recording on his phone, and I think he said it took over 20 minutes for us to do the entire set. And so now to try and get into top 8 of this tournament, game 4 up against KiwiCuber. We actually switched the lead. We're not that crazy. So we go fire it into the Corviknight here, which would have been nice for us, but he did make the nice read there, and we have Toedscruel and Fortress in the back as well. But I want to win lead here because I do not want my Toedscruel to find anything bad. I want Toedscruel to find the Marowak, so I'm going to invest my shields. Even if it's just Air Cutter, I just know that I can win this matchup. So I go for a second Brick Break. At this point, I probably could have gone for Swift, but, you know, it is what it is. And at this point, I'm like, look, I can please be Air Cutter. It is payback. And I'm like, please let me win. Please let me win. And we do get the win in the lead matchup there. That was not studied. That was just hope and vibes. And we did go a shield down. But that is fine because I am hoping, I am believing that there is a Marowak in the back. If there is a Marowak in the back, they don't have Brick Break on this thing. I'm just going to throw a Rock Tomb. I'm going to keep their attack low. I know that I'm going to win this matchup as Fortress, and I know that Toedscruel will be able to beat any level of Marowak in the back if I can get there, if they have the Marowak. This is looking pretty good for me. So they go for the Swift. They bring our Fortress very low, and there's the Marowak. Here's Toedscruel. I'm looking so good right now because not only am I going to confidently beat this Marowak, I'm going to have a ton of energy to throw from my Toedscruel into their Fire. Toedscruel is doing so much work for me in this tournament because my team is forcing them to bring that Marowak so much because it is so scary, especially because my team, my Fortress is so good into them. They need that Mud Slap damage, and so my Toedscruel is just farming up. I throw one extra Mud Slap just to get good timing even to throw this one wrap in. It's down into the red at this point. I go for the Mud Slaps. I swap into the Rock Tomb just to throw another wrinkle into the things, and they do go for the shield. One Volt Switch though, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to shield because this Volt Switch will now guarantee connect, and I think that is going to be enough to secure my place in the top 8 of the Auckland Special Championships. But the tournament's not over yet, because I now have to take on KlunkNZ, one of the other best battlers in New Zealand and an absolute Show 6 legend on the grassroots circuit. I think this is his first ever sort of regional level event because he hasn't traveled to Australia for it, and this is the first one ever in New Zealand for Pokemon Go. But I know that this is a really strong opponent, and just like Yusei beat me before, maybe the New Zealanders have my number. And so if I beat Klunk, I get through to top 6. Now he's got the Unnovan Stunfisk, the Cradily, Empoleon, Shadow Altaria, Azumarill, and the Shadow Annihilate, and I'm sort of thinking the same thing that I'm always thinking. Bastiodon is looking pretty scary, so they need to bring at least either the Stunfisk or the Annihilate, and Toedscruel can do pretty well into those guys, so I'm like, well, maybe that's actually going to be okay. I'm also going to bring one of my fairies. I'm going to bring Azumarill as my safe swap, partially for the Annihilate, partially to cover the Altaria and such, but also just because it looks like a pretty decent safe swap across the board. Azumarill is sort of like the worst scenario in that particular game. And then I think my third Pokemon, I'm going to bring the other safe swap, a Furret, because I was a little bit unsure what to do, to be honest with you. Cradily is a very scary Pokemon for me if I'm not bringing my Bastiodon. And I was like, well, I have to bring either Bastion, Fortress, or Furret to deal with the Cradily. And Bastiodon and Fortress seemed a little bit too weak to the same Pokemon that were going to crush the other guys. So I was like, you know what? Let's go for the Furret play and let's see how we go. And let's get into game number 1 of losers round 5. Toedscruel lead into the Unova Stunfisk. This is awesome. So they swap into Credilli. I decide, you know what? I can actually afford to get a little bit of energy, a little bit of damage on this Credilli early because, again, this is me not studied. I don't know how Brick Break Furret goes into Credilli. I know that in the neutral scenarios it's a good matchup, but I don't know how much energy flips it. And so I decide, you know what? Let's be safe. Let's put a Seed Bomb on it. I know that I can lose a little bit of health or a little bit of energy on my Toedscruel because it's so good into Stunfisk. I'm okay to use a little bit of it here. So we burn the shield there to make sure that we win this matchup. Sucker Punch down the Credilli, and now the Annihilape is coming in. And I'm like, okay, Azumarill is like kind of good into this matchup, not crazy good. And so I just throw a defense debuff out there. Swift and Brick Break are both super resisted. So I'm like, whatever, it's fine. And now come in my Azumarill. The bubble damage is actually coming in clutch here. And I'm just thinking, you know what? That Stunfisk in the back is so bad into my Toedscruel that I feel like if I just keep this going, and I just instant swap when Stunfisk comes out, I could probably mud slap down that Annihilape in the back. They swap into their Stunfisk, I swap into my Toedscruel. I feel like, I wonder if it would be better off if they just keep going with the boosted Rage Fist on that Annihilape, because this Stunfisk is just so useless. Like, everything is resisted here. Ground is resisted, Electric is resisted, like both the Thunder Shocks and the Discharges. I decided to throw the Seed Bomb here, because I'm like, look, I'd like a little bit of health going to that Annihilape matchup. I have a shield, so it's not like they throw a single charge move, I'm going to evaporate. So I go for the wrap and I mud slap down and get game 1 win against KlunkNZ, which is a really solid performance, to be fair. Like, it is a very scary thing. And so, to be honest with you, like game number 2, I'm thinking pretty similar. We go the exact same team. This time we get the Credilli lead though, and that's fine because that's what a safe swap is for. It is to swap. And so I swap in my Furret. I know that because he's running that Acid, Brick Break will actually get to the move at the same pacing that Credilli does, and I'm going to win Charge Attack priority. So we get a Brick Break in, they get the Rock Tomb in, and now the Empoleon comes in, and unfortunately they are going to outpace us this time. So this time we just decide to eat the Hydro Cannon because I know that Toedscruel will be able to do this. It's sort of better off that I use a shield on Toedscruel with a Mud Slap down than it would be to use a shield on the low health Furret. And this time, I don't know about this play. Like, I no shielded to eat the move because I knew that something bad was going to be in the back. Here comes Altaria, actually, and they were really ready for that one. And so I swap into the Azumarill, and I'm like, oh. Actually, this is probably good that I didn't use shields, to be honest with you. It's probably for the best. And so we get the first shield there. They are going to outpace us, which is kind of scary. It takes us 15 turns to get to our Ice Beams, and they have a little bit of energy. There's no universe that we bubble down. Oh, this is a little bit of lag, actually. So I lost a bubble here, and you'll sort of see how it plays out. I swap into Toedscruel, I throw the Seed Bomb just to try and get rid of this Credilli as fast as possible, because I'm like, look, if that Altaria can just, if Azumarill up against Altaria is what happens, then that's fine. And so, again, if we had that one extra bubble, we would be straight at the Ice Beam, but that wouldn't be the winning play. The winning play would be to recognize that that Credilli is still in the back, and we need to throw an Ice Beam into it. So I should have farmed up more energy against Altaria, and then thrown it into the Credilli. And so what I sort of decided, like, we sort of sat there and discussed it a little bit, and I was like, look, I think that this game was winnable for me, but I didn't identify the winning play. And like, in some sense I was frazzled. Like, I do think that I played differently because there was lag, but you know, the instance of lag didn't change what decisions I made. And because the decisions I made were the losing decisions, I thought it was fair enough to sort of not go for the rematch on that one. Even though, like, I definitely could have won that game if I just played it a little bit tighter. So that's just, you know, lesson learned, but it does mean that we are 1-1 against KlunkNZ going into the penultimate, the decisive game number 3 in losers round number 5. And I figure, okay, he completely swapped his team that time. Like, he did a total flip. He ditched the Stunfisk behind. He went for the Credilli, which is, you know, okay, that's fine. He brought this Shadow Altaria, which is like, okay, interesting. And then he ditched the Shadow Annihilape. And I was like, oh, maybe this is Bastiodon's time to shine. He's ditched the Stunfisk and he's ditched the Annihilape. But then I sat there and I was like, you know what? Maybe that's what he wants me to think. This guy is a Show 6 legend. He knows the Show 6 mind games. He's trying to bait me into using Bastiodon. So you know what? I was going to lead it, but no. I'm going to leave Bastiodon behind. I'm ready for your tricks. I know that you want me to bring Bastiodon. Let's bring on game number 3. Yeah, he wasn't trying to bait me into Bastiodon. I should have just brought Bastiodon. It was the right call. So now we have to make this work. So for it, we're going to throw the Brick Break into the Altaria. This is, again, a lack of study problem. I don't know how I should play this matchup out. I don't know if I should go for straight Swifts. I decided that maybe the defense drop would be helpful. Evidently, not the case. because we didn't really get any benefit out of it at all, and we just wasted more energy. So we go for another brick break into a zoom rule, because again, I'm trying to set up my own zoom rule for success here, because they have play rough and we don't, which is just going to be the better move. Maybe if they have a defense drop, that the hydro pump damage will actually be significant. And to be honest with you, you're coming along with me if you're finding this out for the first time, because it did pretty well. Like, it's not bad. It brought it down into the deep yellow. I figure if I land one more hydro pump, I'm going to be in a pretty good position. If I'm lucky, I could take another play rough, but it didn't look like, it would look too scary. So I swapped back into Furret, and I was keeping my Toedscruel in the back in case of this Stunfisk, which is like, okay, hang on, we have some play here. So I go for the brick break. I reduce that defense of the Stunfisk. They're getting a lot of energy here, and unfortunately, I just barely don't get another move. If I went for 2 Swifts, then maybe that would have been better, but at that point, he might have thrown the move to make sure that I don't. And so now Toedscruel is just going to soak up all that energy that Klunk farms. Like, all of it. Absolutely all of it. But we still have to deal with this Altaria. And Klunk has 2 shields. Where is Bastiodon? You know how good Bastiodon would have been in this matchup? We get one shield out of there. We're not going to quite get to another Ice Beam. He forces us to sort of make a decision here. And look, I can't throw Toedscruel into Altaria. It's just not going to work. And he gets another move before we get to the Ice Beam. At this point, I think I actually lost count. And so the Altaria takes us down. Toedscruel is now the final soldier. I was literally sitting there at the table with, my hand in a salute as Toedscruel, the final Pokemon that I used in the Auckland Special Championship after so much success, after bringing me to top 8, goes down to that Shadow Altaria that I thought that I'd scared off so well with my team. And Klunk moves on into the top 6 of the tournament. And just like that, I finished top 8 in the Auckland Special Championships, alongside Toedscruel, who, this is also Toedscruel's first ever top 8, so I guess congrats to Toedscruel as well. But you can see both of my New Zealand opponents, Yusei and Klunk, ended up top 6 as well. So it was a really fun tournament, and massive shout out to Jumpathy as well, who actually got the win. Really cool to actually see him get the win, especially hopping off 3rd place in Brisbane Regionals a couple months ago. So that was pretty cool to see. Also, Jumpathy and Gon, they came 1st and 3rd and 1st and 3rd, which I also think is pretty cool. But obviously, like, this means that I'm coming out with 280 points. And again, like, now I'm here on the Oceanic leaderboard, which is number 13. At the moment, top 12 qualifies for Worlds. So it's sort of like insane that I'm sort of here again with all of these points. I mean, again, like Ash and Ash, he played so hard this weekend. He won game after game after game after game against such tough opponents, and he got 300 championship points. I beat 2 people and I got 280. I mean, it's a ridiculous scenario. Like, I know that I'm benefiting from it, so it's awesome. I really think that we need Swiss, because that really like helps to even out these issues a little bit. But I don't know, it just seems insane to me that this can even happen. But look, as long as these situations keep popping up, I'll keep farming them, I guess. So with that said, I really appreciate everyone for watching. Thank you to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members as well for supporting this content. There's another video coming up soon with Jumpathy's winning run that I'll be putting out a little bit later as well. So thank you for watching this far as well, and thanks to Will D for the team, of course. Thanks to Debbie for the support outside of the battlefield. Yeah, really appreciate everyone for checking out this new type of content. But with that said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one, and I will see you in the next video for Jumpathy's run very soon. Bye.